Pete, what's the biggest mistake you made at your wedding?
Honey, I love you, but said I do. Not my mistake. Not my mistake. I love my wife.
Several months later.
We've told you about the Family Feud contestant accused of killing his wife. Well, his game show days are definitely over. He was just convicted of first-degree murder and home invasion just 3 months after he killed his wife.
You know, it's interesting because this is not the first murderer who's been on a game show. It's actually nothing new. Here's a clip from back in the 70s on a show called The Dating Game. And in that show, a famous serial killer made an appearance. Check it out.
We're gonna have a great time together.
It may be the creepiest episode ever on The Dating Game because this bachelor looking for love back in 1978 is actually a serial killer.
I'm called the Banana, and I look really good.
No one had any idea that Rodney Alcala had already launched his killing spree when he appeared on the popular dating show.
Now, almost 50 years later, there's another game show killer who has been convicted of murder. This is Tim and Rebecca. Becky. They lived in Quincy, Illinois, and they married in 2009 and had 3 sons. Tim worked in the recycling business and Becky was a nurse. Now, Tim has been accused of killing his wife, and he has been convicted of that crime. Now, the shocking part is that Tim appeared on the show Family Feud in 2020. Here is the question that Tim was asked while he was on the show.
Pete, what's the biggest mistake you made at your wedding?
Honey, I love you, but said I do. Not my mistake. Not my mistake. I love my wife.
That feels like foreshadowing. Now, Tim and Becky's marriage fell apart. Tim filed for divorce and things essentially moved on. Tim moved out of the house. He moved about, I think, a mile away from the family home where Becky resided. Now, their divorce was contentious. You had disputes over everything from child custody, money issues, and the house. Now, Tim and Becky accused each other of stalking harassment, and both sought restraining orders from local authorities, but both restraining orders were denied. Now, on February 22nd, 2023, Becky was at her home, and Tim was allegedly watching their 3 sons. Now, at about 1:11 a.m. in the morning on that night, Becky was murdered in her home. Now, Becky's father discovered her body the next afternoon, and here's what he said happened.
Becky Bleaknick's father taking the stand Tuesday telling jurors how he discovered her body.
I ran up the stairs, and since she supposedly was sick, I went to the bedroom to see if she was laying down. Didn't see anything in her bedroom, went into the attached bathroom, and that's when I found her body lying on the floor. She looked like she was dead.
Now, police arrived and found that Becky had been shot 14 times. There was a shredded Aldi bag near her body, and the window had been pried open with something like a crowbar. There was also a shoe print found outside that window. Another interesting fact is that Becky had attempted to call 911 at about 1:11 around the time of the murder. Police also noted that nothing was actually stolen from the house. Now, surveillance footage revealed that a person was on Becky's driveway about 24 hours before the murder. Surveillance also showed a person cycling near the crime scene at the time, and the bike didn't have wheel reflectors, which are required by law in the area, but that made it a little bit more suspicious. Now, police started their investigation with the husband because the vast majority of the time, people are killed by someone they know. And it's really interesting because even within racial groups, like for instance, 80% of black people are killed by the black people, 80% of white people plus are killed by the white people, and so forth. And it's more likely that you're going to know your killer if a person is murdered. So one of the easiest things for police to do is look at internet searches. And when they looked at Tim's internet search before the murder, this is what they found.
The state also says the defendant's search history is quite damning. It apparently includes searches like how to make a homemade silencer, Quincy Police Department response times, using a crowbar to open doors, and even how to wash gunpowder off your hands.
Now, police also found a bike matching the one on the surveillance video without any of the reflectors near Tim's house. Police also searched Tim's home on March 1st, 2023, and they also found Aldi bags, cartridge cases, and a crowbar. So here is the government's case.
Prosecutors say Blefnick did the unthinkable, rode a bicycle to her home, climbed up to the second floor, opened the window with a crowbar, and shot her multiple times using a homemade gun silencer.
We learned that he did practice runs of going to her house on that bike multiple days. We learned about his Google searches. We learned so many gruesome facts. I would have never dreamed that I would be listening to details like that.
Now, Tim was arrested on March 13th, and Tim claims that he is innocent.
My kids. I just wanted to know that I love them, that I miss them. I'm innocent. I didn't kill Becky.
But Becky's sister says Tim is right where he belongs.
Just a quick recap of the evidence against Tim. You had a real nasty divorce. You had these text messages from Becky to her sister fearing that Tim was going to hurt her. Tim's also interest in the neighborhood security cameras. A suspicious person was caught on camera. There's a bicycle that was found near Tim's home. The internet search history that suggested premeditation. And interestingly enough, all of Tim's devices, like his phone, were turned off during that time frame so no one can see where they were at. But on the other side, Tim's defense was that there was no clear ID of the person on these surveillance cameras. The bike was found near his house, but it wasn't found at his house. The shoe print that was found outside the murder scene didn't match any of Tim's shoes. And Tim was allegedly taking care of 3 kids the night of the murder. So was the government suggesting that he left the 3 kids at home to go kill his wife and then come back? But the jury found Tim guilty.
Would the clerk read the verdicts, please?
We, the jury, find the defendant, Timothy Blefnick, guilty of home invasion, signed by the 4-person and 11 jurors. We, the jury, find the defendant, Timothy Blefnick, guilty of first-degree murder, signed by the 4-person and 11 jurors. We, the jury, find the allegation that during the commission of the offense of first-degree murder, the defendant personally discharged a firearm that approximately caused death to another person was proven, signed by the 4-person and 11 jurors.
So after the jury concluded that Tim was guilty, the judge easily gave him a life sentence.
The court believes that the appropriate sentence for each of the 2 counts of first-degree murder would be natural life in prison. Court believes that the 3rd count of home invasion, appropriate sentence is life in prison. Those 3 sentences will merge together into 1 life sentence. And then, Mr. Blefnick, I need to give you your appeal rights.
So obviously this case has been intriguing because of that question that Tim was asked during Family Feud. The biggest mistake of his life was saying yes. And that may actually have been true for Tim. Now, quick question. Do you think Tim is guilty of murder? Let me know in the comment section, because obviously he's been convicted of a jury of his appeals. He's trying to appeal, but we don't know how that's going to go. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, do all that great YouTube stuff. My name is Nate the Lawyer, and I will see you next time. Peace.